how did you get into video games? Like, because I know you stream a lot and stuff.
I mean, of course, I always I've been playing video games for the majority of my life in various forms. Um, I was I was in the section of kids who were like I didn't really have like a console like a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo or whatever at home. So I did a lot of like playing over at other friends' houses. But I had I played a lot of computer games and stuff at home, and it was just always like it didn't even really consider myself like a quote unquote gamer, right? It was just like that's what everybody did. And I think that's probably the case still, right? Like, people play video game. There's all this sort of there's sometimes disparaging things like, well, this guy's a gamer. I don't know about it, but when it turns, but it like if you look into it, it's like something like 95% of people are young people are playing video games. So it's like if you look at anybody, they're probably playing video games. It's most the most like massive media thing ever. So yeah, and then when we were doing Loading Ready Run, the sketches and stuff, that was obviously just sort of a touchstone of our Graham and I's sort of cultural experience was video games. So that's was the source of a lot of our humor, just because that was something that we spent a lot of time on. And so I guess that sort of became it made sense to make a lot of our content around video games and magic and sort of geeky content and stuff because that's what we were interested in. And then the streaming sort of arose naturally out of that as we sort of learned more about the possibilities for live
Oh
online
yeah,
streaming and
definitely.
stuff.
I mean, you're completely right about the kids and playing video games thing. I don't think I know a person in my school who doesn't play video games. Um, yeah, nowadays it's just like a thing that everyone does, especially me.
Yeah, it's not really like there isn't gamers and
Yeah,
non-gamers. There's just yeah, it's just
yeah.
pretty much everybody.
I've like everybody plays video games. Like I'm texting my friend who I don't even think plays video games, and I'm like, "Hey, what you doing right now?" And they're like, "I'm playing video games." I'm like, "Oh, you play video games?" And they're like, "Yeah, everyone plays video games." And I'm like, "Okay."
I mean, it's like saying somebody's like a movie watcher or a television watcher. It's
Hmm.
like it's just you know, it's a it's a pastime. That being said, I will admit that I probably play more video games than the average person. It is weirdly part of my job now that we just think that like all the things that I did when I was younger, playing Magic, playing video games, comic books, television, movies, all the stuff that I did when I was younger, that I was sort of considered to be like the sort of time wasting relaxation stuff between all the actual learning. That turned out to be the stuff that I was actually preparing to do as my career, which is
Yeah,
always
I find that
odd.
I found that cool actually that you can turn like something that's a hobby into like something big, especially like now that it's your life's work. You put probably so much effort into LLR. So I mean, I can appreciate that. So now moving on, how did you begin Loading Ready Run? I mean, like, what was your thought process behind it?
So Graham and I were friends, obviously, in school, and we made Graham. There was a film festival at Graham's school. We went to different schools, but there's a film festival at Graham's school, and he made this computer animated, or he wanted to make this computer animated film for it, called After Hours, which was like about suits of armor waking up in a museum and doing stuff. And he, given the time and the amount of work, he couldn't do it himself. So he asked if I wanted to help him out with it. And I said yes. And so we together animated, and we got friends to do voices for it and stuff, and did this thing for this film festival. And I think it did quite well. I don't know. I can't quite remember if it actually like won, but it did quite well. And we enjoyed the process. And we were like, we should do this more, but let's do more like filming stuff as opposed to computer animation, because that's really hard and takes a long time. And so we were like, okay, let's set ourselves. It's like, how do you get good at anything is you do it a lot. And sometimes, the crappy stuff happens, early. You have to get all the crappy stuff out there before you can get onto the good stuff. And so we were like, okay, let's make ourselves a goal of producing one video per week. And so we started Loading Ready Run with that. We were like, let's make one video a week. And we did that for 15 years.